Hey, everybody, and welcome back to X's for Podcast, your premier live comic podcast where we talk modern Marvels, Chronoskim, some classics, and more. I'm Nico, and you can check me out on Twitter, Instagram, and all the socials at Nico Action. That's NICOACTION.
Hey everybody, it's Nathan. You can find me on Twitter and everywhere and all around at Dazzler AOA. That's like Dazzler. Is it in the Age of Apocalypse? I think so, yeah.
Well, as long as she's not in the Sins of Sinister, I'm very happy for her. I am TK. You can find me all over the socials at XNateXGrayX.
And you can find everything you need about the show over at xsforpodcast.com, which will be getting a super cool makeover, so keep your eyes out for that one. It's going to be real neat, get you all the information you want about following all of our incredible hosts and contributors. But, okay, we've switched over to this new amazing format. I'm a big fan. We're testing out some new times. And today we're here to talk about some dark web stuff.
I love that we came up with a whole format for the schedule that we were going to do for the show. We had these really segmented things. It was all great. We get through exactly 1 month and realize
crossover.
That we have this event that's going to take up so much of our time. Thankfully, in terms of other stuff sort of winding down, it has all worked out. But, we got one. It's like Generation X, how they got 4 issues, and then they just had to end it for Generation X during Age of Apocalypse. We're doing a little, we had a good run, and now we're doing our little break so we can do Age of Dark Web.
Age of Dark Web. Love it.
It's coming.
It's like, it's like Venom. It's like, we are Venom. We are the Age of Dark Web. But no, I love that we are getting the chance to cover like what I can only see is the spiritual successor to the actual original Inferno. Like, I know we had Inferno named events, last year into the year before. Like, I'm really psyched to see the goofiness of the demons. Like, it's giving me everything I want with the demon talking back. Like, I can almost see Rachel Summers becoming a mannequin in this event.
I want to respond to this, but Nico, I'm going to let you intro the whole thing because we haven't even.
Well, so quick intro, just to hit what we're starting off with. Today, we're going to be taking a look at some amazing titles with some of our most incredible voices. We're going to be taking a look at Amazing Spider-Man 15 and 16. We're going to be taking a look at a number of the Dark Web one-shots, including, I want to say it's Goblin 2, along with Venom 14. We're going to be taking a look at Ms. Marvel Dark Web alongside Black Cat and Mary Jane. Thank you, Kevo. You're the best producer in the world, and you're also quite a husband. And we're also going to be taking a look at X-Men Dark Web 1 and 2. Super exciting there. But we're kicking this whole business off with Dark Web Dusk. And I just have to say, I'm repping Spider-Girl. She's my everything. We have, of course, May, the original Spider-Girl, but we have April, her half clone, half symbiote, evil murder sister.
A character who would be so appropriate in Dark Web right now.
I would kill for her to be in Dark Web. Anyway, okay, so I want to start things off with, Nathan, you raised an amazing point about how this has really got a lot of Inferno vibes. And TK, you said you're ready to tear into that with your mailbox teeth. So let's get at it.
Go for it.
I mean, I, of course, completely agree, but it was funny back in the day when we were covering Inferno, I remember really trying to talk out and suss out, like, why is this also Inferno? And I came to the idea that an Inferno is a moment in, like, X life where a woman has just been pushed too far beyond the point of what she can accept any longer. And so while the two Infernos don't seem at all similar, the vibe isn't similar, the most of the content isn't really similar. It's this idea that women like Maddie in the original and women like Moira, and not even so much Moira as like Mystique and, that they are pushed to a point that they can no longer accept, and there is going to be some backfire. Dark Web really is the successor to Inferno in terms of vibe, in terms of story. And I love it so much. If there were any critique, it is just that Inferno is such an iconic name and the events are so similar that it's a little unfortunate that we're not brand wise tying them together. But I kind of, it makes me hope that we can have other Infernos in the future and that we can figure out a way that all of these, should any similar events happen to the original Inferno and Dark Web, that those can have their own through line regardless of the name.
Make Inferno the new Crisis.
It's Marvel's Inferno on X-Men Krakoa. I don't know.
No, I'm with it. I'm with it. Everywhere you need. Inferno in Stark Tower. Inferno in the Baxter Building. I'll Inferno your shit all day.
Inferno in Jarvis's bathroom.
And you get an Inferno. And you get an Inferno.
You all get Infernos.
Bees.
Repping team prior here, gotta go with the clone love, but it's so fun to see it. And like I loved how in the last Inferno really just seemed to feature like what goes wrong if you like try to push a lesbian too far, she's gonna burn the island down. Like I love that, and the original one was like, what happens when you push a clone too far, she's gonna kill her baby. But it's great to see the fun and campiness that we got in that original Inferno in this Dark Web of it.
I completely agree. And I want to start things off with, how do you guys feel about these, very different clone peoples? I know growing up, thought like the height of funky fresh style was a teal cut off hoodie with a big spider design, and like you could not convince me that wasn't walking around with a Banksy on your chest. And I still kind of feel that way. So I
really
want to
couldn't
love
agree
Ben
more.
Reilly. I want to. And I'm famous for being hard on Maddie. And I want to say, like, what can I say, Maddie? Try harder. But I feel like life has said that to Maddie enough.
Yeah, please don't.
I just want to be like, it's a shame that she's so misused so frequently that it's hard to fall in love with her for me for long stretches. And I would love to get your guys' reaction to, one Mr. Benjamin clone cell Riley and Madeline, I can actually fly planes, don't forget, prior.
I, like you, am a total Ben head from back in the 90s. Really, it was just all about that cutoff, and it just, to me, was just so cool. And, he's been around this whole time. He's been doing stuff. He was like, I'm going to be Spider-Man for a minute during Death of Doctor Strange. Had the great talk with Black Hat where he was like, if Peter is sick, I'm going to pick up the slack. Loved that for him. The situation that he's in is a very specific near-death experience mixed with psychedelics. And so on the one hand, it kind of makes me, like, I like the idea that he's having trouble with life as a clone, but when you're like, he has quantum memory loss, it kind of... And so for Maddie really, it's all on her shoulders to like actually have been a person who was mistreated because of who she was, and for that to mean something, and for there to be consequences of that. And I'm completely reserving judgment till all is said and done, because I really do love Maddie. I don't think you can justify the trying to kill her own child stuff, but I do think you can say this is somebody who was done wrong, and I'd love to see that dealt with.
I gotta say, like, when I first started reading comics, like, I was super into X-Men, but my mom got me a subscription to Spider-Man at the time. So, like, I fell in love with crazy 90s Spider-Man. So it was all through the lead up to Ben Reilly taking over, as Spider-Man. So, like, I've got mad love for Ben Reilly. I loved the Beyond, Spider-Man Beyond stuff that came out before this that really showed him taking over as Spider-Man while Peter was sick again. While it felt like a nostalgia grab for the 90s, it also was a really good story because the Beyond Corporation was really fucking with his memories and really messing with his head. So, like, this is a guy who really was brought to his lowest point, and when, as we'll talk about later, when he remembers the events of the very, very lowest point, like he doesn't remember that Peter Parker was trying to save him versus or that. So I love to see, what his state of mind is that has driven him to become Chasm versus where we knew him before, where he was always a sort of heroic guy. And of course, Maddie, like, she has been used and abused. Like, I kind of get the trying to kill her baby thing because she was bred to breed. So like that was her way of trying to take her life back. But it's still, I don't know if it can really justify that.
No, that's a really good point. And the loss of sanity from how she was treated, and what that child represents in the kind of treatment that you're talking about. You're totally right. It's more that like I want redemption, and I feel like even when you give a really good explanation like that, it's going to be really tough, like for editors of a comic book to make somebody an X-Man who once tried to kill her baby.
Oh, agreed. It's really hard to walk a character back from that line. And and I always wanted Maddie to be her own character and away from some. I don't need her to be a good guy. I'm fine with what she's doing as a character, like not like personally, like I'm not like, yeah, Maddie, you're doing the right thing, but like I get what it does to her character. I'm not upset as a big Maddie fan that this is happening to her character.
And the thing I want to address is what is happening to her character. Maddie had this beautiful turn in the pages of New Mutants, which we actually covered 47 times, and it just kept falling at a really weird time in our coverage, and so we covered the whole thing, like beginning to end, like 5 times. It was really great. We covered it again for a Limbo special. Maddie had this beautiful transformation into the absolutely has every right to be angry woman that she has every right to be. And the mastermind behind that, the architect of her doing, is seemingly the architect of her undoing, as we now have Zeb Wells, along with Adam Kubert, Frank Martin, and Joe Caramagna on the leadoff for Dark Web. I'm not the biggest fan of the event as a whole. I'm enjoying a lot of Zeb Wells as Spider-Man, a lot, and I'm enjoying a lot of the threads, but I'm not sure that I get the event. Like, it seems as though it's a very existentialist comics, I guess. It seems as though Maddie Pryor is like, what if we do kind of like the same Inferno thing again with some less baby killing and a little bit more eating Jean Grey's memories? And I think this is actually a much more fair thing. Like, I'm a much bigger fan of this plan. This really does seem like what someone who's hurt might do to get revenge when they're, I don't want to say calculated, because calculated makes it sound like cruel, but like this is a better step in my opinion. How do you guys feel about the returning to that element of Inferno that was so famous, like the stuff that we've always talked about, like the eating mailboxes and like the roads that rip up and attack you? How does that return feel in the pages of Dark Web?
Great. I love it. I'm like so excited that they're back. I love to see it. It's a good kind of nostalgia. It doesn't like, that's the kind of nostalgia that you read and you're like, oh, I feel bad that I used to like that. It's like, oh my God, these are fun, campy demons and they just want to eat people. The stroller wants to eat the baby. The Christmas trees just want to poop. So, I mean,
I'm getting. So contributor Jake just wants me to know that they're Maddie's memories and that Jean absorbed them.
Oh man,
she's earned them.
We will be delving into this during the next segment for sure. I really agree with the idea that like the motivations here are much more justifiable. I'm much more eager to follow along and see what happens. We're not just ending the world. We're taking back what's ours, which I love for Maddie. Again, I go back to Ben, who isn't taking back what's his because what's his was not lost, and he thinks Peter hurt him, but Peter did not hurt him. And so it's a little bit unfortunate. And I, again, kind of put that on Maddie's shoulders for maybe taking advantage of him. Venom is absolutely being taken advantage of. But you know who probably is not being taken advantage of, but is really interesting in this particular book? Elizabeth Tyne, a.k.a. Hallows Eve.
Yeah, she is absolutely a one-stop shop party city wig factory. Nathan, I think we've found your superhero self.
But hold
Hell
on,
yeah.
Nico,
The
Elizabeth
power of
Tyne,
Halloween. It's me.
Elizabeth Tyne, Nico.
Like Riley Tyne.
That's his mom, yo.
Oh my god. That's Dark Devil's mom.
Yeah. Just
I
I don't
gotta
know.
go.
So I just love it for the like for us specifically for just the context of you and I and what we're covering, and we got Mayday in the background there and everything. But yeah, this is that Elizabeth Tyne, and so now I went a little bit like I don't care about this character when we talked about possibly covering her before, and Nathan, it was either you or Steve. Somebody made some really compelling arguments for why it was actually going to be kind of cool. And I really I almost interrupted to eat my words and be like, I was so wrong. But I'm doing it now. She's actually somebody who in this series as a whole is coming off really interesting to me. And we'll talk about that more in the Venom coverage, which is where I think she's doing her best work. But like this, despite the weird Halloween theming, this could be a real keeper.
I love it. I'm so excited to see the miniseries that's coming out for her. Maybe post Dark Web. I think it's post Dark Web.
Yeah, it's post Dark Web.
Okay. So yeah, I'm really super psyched for that.
I am so fucking excited about what you said, so that I started Googling, like, can I quickly change my background to Dark Devil? And I found that if you search Dark Devil MC2, like 67 of the results are our show. So I'm not.
Yes, we've won. Yeah, I'm excited. That's a weird pull, but like, A, it's all coming together, and I love that. B, like, these are all great characters to play around with, and I do, Jake's gonna have some opinions when we get into X-Men about like what's going on with Maddie, and I've kind of been like, I'm not saying anything until all is said and done, because I think we might be getting a little bit bait and switched in terms of how bad everyone seems and how good they're gonna look at the end of the series.
All right,
Okay.
I definitely I vote yes on that. Nathan, what are your thoughts? Do you think Maddie is playing everybody? Do we think that this is like a Belasco bait and switch? It's a Mephisto mystery? It's a Dormammu don'tcha?
It's a Zardos cacophony. I don't know.
Yes.
Sure.
Kevin said stop.
I sure. I think Maddie is playing everybody. I think she's really just out to get her own means, and she cares about Ben Reilly, but she doesn't really. I think she cares more about Hallows Eve than Ben Reilly, which is like funny but cool. I'm like, you go girl, like, like that villain mama boss, like, yeah, you get it.
I would love it if You Go Girl showed up in this. Okay, so then I have one big question that's forefront of my brains. How do you guys feel about the nature of so many things coming together in this, right? Well, clearly we're talking just initially about the Dark Web one-shot with, ex-longtime buddy Zeb Wells, who this is, of course, not Zeb Wells' first time on Amazing Spider-Man, as he originally did Spider-Man back when Dan Slott debuted in the Brand New Day era, right? So how do you guys feel about how it's the Venom story with his kid? It's a lot of stories in a good way, because I like when they're able to say, look how versatile a single story can be. How do you guys feel about that? Is that working for you the same way it's working for me? Or are you guys feeling like this is a couple of puzzle pieces from a few too many puzzles?
I think it's working for me. And because it's really deft, they are hitting their publishing deadlines. So things are coming out in the order that they need to be read. And so there's things happening like, in Venom, Hallows Eve is going to get the Cerebro helmet that she's then going to bring back to Maddie. And the beats are really being hit. It's 2 months of worth of releases that, that's not that much time. It's moving at a pace, and well, maybe some things will be like a little too glossed over, maybe not. We'll find out when all is said and done. I'm very impressed at the ballet of pulling all these people together. And like, I noticed it when I was reading the Hallows Eve stuff. Like, I care about each one of these people in their own way. I care about Miss Marvel and Mary Jane. Like, I'm in it for everyone.
Nathan, take us into our first commercial. Tell me, how do you feel about this many things overlapping like this?
Usually it's great. I just think the Venom was a little bit one too many for me. But like, other than that, like, it's pretty good and it's amazing. And I can't wait to see how Venom fits into it.
I very much agree. And I am absolutely so excited to keep talking about this amazing story and this larger than life crossover, but I don't think we can do it without a little bit of help from our team. So we're going to flash to a commercial, and when we come back, we're going to be taking a look at two of the most recent issues of Amazing Spider-Man with some of the best voices from the X-Pack, so you're not going to want to miss it. But first up, check out these other amazing things on this channel, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you can check out more of our handsome faces and the ridiculous content we bring where I do old-timey voices. Oh, for the love of God, Kevy, get me off the screen.
It's so great now that we can...
Hey everybody, we are back, and I believe I am turning things over to the one, the only Nathan. No, wait, TK, this is X-Men?
TK.
Yeah,
This
I'm
is
going
me.
to TK. I actually said that we're going to Spider-Man after break, so I'm the problem. I see in the group chat. So, by the way, we're just waiting on the amazing that is Juancho. If you're out there, Juancho, we want you in this room, buddy, so come on through.
Well, as we wait for Wancho and get ready to get started, I want to introduce our contributors for this particular segment. In glorious, glitchy wonderfulness, we've got Arturo.
Live and direct from the Mojoverse. Sorry, they're jamming my transmission. I'm not sure what's going on, but hi everyone. Good to
It's
see
so
you.
appropriate for dark web.
It really is. Yeah, it's like a fractured psyche.
And the love of my life, who I'm so excited to see tomorrow. Hey, Boo.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone. I'm Jake. And you can find me on the internet at Twitter at O Mega Sentinel. That's OH Mega Sentinel or O Mega Sentinel. And I'm also on Instagram now at the Heart Farmer, like a farmer of hearts, plows and blood spurting everywhere. And it's beautiful.
And man, this is, I think, for a lot of us, the big one. The big one, at least, I think, in terms of expectations for Dark Web. It's actually maybe not my big one as I read the series, but as we were coming into it, I thought, this is where I need to sort of plant my flag and, like, I want to know. I want to know what is going on with Miss Madeline Pryor. I wanted to go just right to Arturo and Jake because we've talked about it a little bit, but we're going to... Juancho!
Hey!
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Juancho. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Juancho, and you can find me on Twitter at Lost in Krakoa.
We're so psyched that you're joining us. Now we've got Arturo has disappeared. But here's the deal. We're going to get started. People are going to come in and out as they want. This is going to be this is like the X-Men. Sometimes you're on the island. Sometimes you just walk out and leave. It's all good.
It's like a stepping disc to limbo.
I was about to say I'm back, guys. I had to pop into limbo and grab a glass of wine.
No worries. But like just diving right into it, how are we feeling about these two issues of Dark Web X-Men? How are we feeling about the state of Madeline Pryor right now?
Worried. I am worried. I have faith in Zeb Wells. This is my short answer. Zeb Wells gave us the Hellions. So right there's my faith. But I have been just worried for my girl going into this event. Why are they regressing her character? But X-Men, this series is giving me hope because I think Zeb is doing something interesting with her. I think you guys were right in the previous segment saying that there's going to be a turn and we're going to get more than what we're expecting, and people that look horrible are hopefully going to get some redemption. And I think we're in good hands with Zeb. But I'm with you, though. I am focusing just on this part of the event. I figure I'll catch everything else through listening to you fine folks.
Jacob, what do you think?
Well, when you read comic books for long enough, you become used to characters regressing to a certain kind of mean. And Marvel seems to really love to pile on their poor clones. Whether you're Ben or Strife or Madeline, my goodness, you can never stay very good for very long if even if you've had some character development. So I'm interested to see where this goes because it does. I agree with the room here that this does seem like a bit of a bait and switch. It does seem like somehow Madeline is not as terrible as she's coming across. I mean, I'm here to support women's wrongs, and I do believe that Madeline is justified to her memories. Jean did take them after she died, so I'm here for Maddie. I'm not here so much for like a nebulous end. I want her to be in a good place by the end of this because that would actually give me the growth I'm looking for in her character arc.
And Juancho, where are you at?
I'm kind of worried, like Arturo, because I'm not exactly sure Dark Web Madeline vibes with New Mutants Madeline.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just got a point to a point with Madeline after Hellions and after Vita's New Mutants, and like 2 issues later, which is when Dark Web started. Like it's a totally different character now. And I don't really get it. Like, why did Marvel let Vita go through all this trouble of writing such an amazing story and just to undo it a month later?
Immediately. That's the part that drives me insane. There was no build into this. It was just like, oh, forget everything you've been reading for the last 2 years. No big deal.
What I hate about it is
It reminds me
Danny Moonstar right. Like she was so annoying in the series. I love Danny Moonstar. She's like literally like top 3 favorite characters, but like she's so annoying in the series, and Maddie's proved her right. Oh, come on.
If you're reading New Mutants, you're only getting half the story.
Well, it's much like that handoff in the MCU from WandaVision to Doctor Strange 2, the character of the Scarlet Witch. It's so
Thank you.
You
Thank
you
you.
end on such character development and such growth and catharsis, and then you pick up and she's evil all the time. It reminds me so much of that.
That's
No, I
exactly
guess-
what it is. That's
I
exactly
guess
what
my
it is.
question then is, do you think that this is a disconnect in which one writer had this vision and wrote their vision and another writer came in and was like, I'm doing this instead? Or do you think that we are, we're working towards something by the end?
I think it's just an issue of X-Men editors not working well with Spider-Man editors and dragging X-Men down with Spider-Man in a way. Because you know how Peter's never allowed to be happy, and I don't know. This just feels like Spider-Man editors writing, like letting this groundwork go through, mostly so Maddie fits with the whole chasm thing, and not as her own character. I don't know. Feels weird.
It almost feels like such an editorial cash grab, kind of like, well, the mutants are doing great. Let's get some of that Krakoan cash. And like, well, we did that, with Inferno back in the day. Why don't we do? People will love that shit. And yes, to an extent, I am loving the mailboxes eating people. I'm loving, the art. I'm loving, my God, Cyclops visorless with his head surrounded by a litter of puppies.
Okay, that's really cute.
That was brilliant. So like,
Very
this
yummy.
is why I go back to, I am terrified, I am worried, I am viscerally angry for like the flip in Maddie, but I have faith in Zeb Wells. I think we're going to land this in a good place.
Here's the thing though, like if you're just reading these 2 issues, I don't think you're getting a good view of the complexity of Maddie in this event. Okay,
You're
so
only getting half the story.
Yeah, like Maddie throughout this whole event is really complex. She's got her reasons for doing what she's doing. Like New Mutants set her out to be her own character. I don't think it necessarily set her out to be a hero. I think her, I'm looking for justice and redemption for Maddie, but like I don't think my redemption for Maddie needs her to be a superhero. I don't think that would ever fit her after everything that she's been through, and always having to occupy the same space that her eminently better clone is like living in. Like I don't think she can ever live up to Jean, and I don't think she ever wants to try.
I agree with that very much. My concern is that her plan does seem to be killing people. Like her plan does seem to be taking children from other mothers, like strollers that eat babies. So her plan does seem to be killing anyone because she's sad about it. And that's the kind of stuff that I don't care for when people like I don't care for it when they have anyone do it, but that is like actually like villainy, and I don't need her to be a hero at all. But the idea that her actions can be reckless such that they do to others what was done to her, and she feels that doing what was done to her one woman, which was wrong to ever be done, but doing it recklessly to hundreds of people, thousands, by doing this spell that could literally kill so many people, unless there's some, but no one's going to die, clause in it, she's actually doing so much worse than was ever done to her by doing what was done to her to everyone.
But I will say this, in a meta way, isn't that the most Maddie story beat we could be getting? Right? It's almost like is it history repeating itself, or is it homage? Is it she's the patron saint of women who deserve better in publishing and got railed for the purpose of a bigger story? So maybe there is kind of there's something that fits and it's right about it, but it's infuriating. Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and Madeline is Jean's shadow self. It becomes really it can be interesting if you're looking at it from a symbolic layering of it. It's always been this dynamic of it's Jean versus her shadow, but but Maddie's a person. And we've gotten so much more of her personhood in this. And I think to the point that that was made before, that we're only getting half the story, I agree, but I also think X-Men is where we're getting the most of Madeline's characterization, her internal process. And I still find myself rooting for her. And yes, the killing stuff is really bad, and it's really it's the character assassination problem. But I don't
She's
think I'm
just
rooting for
killing
the
people
here at all. She's killing people, and I'm still
killing
rooting for her.
people.
I keep going
They're all
back
dead.
to
They're all
that-
messed up.
I keep going back to that first page of issue 2 where she's having the dream about baby Nathan, who is suspiciously absent from this. And at this point, we're so far into it that I almost hope he doesn't come in.
No,
But
please, no Cable. Please, no Cable.
no, always Cable.
No, like I love Cable, but no, like
That's his mom,
let's
yo.
avoid
Come
this.
on.
I know. I mean, like, I feel I'm of two ways about it. I am of the that's his mom, yo, way about it, but I am also of the like, yeah, it might be a little too much. That one dream that she is having really feels important and is really gesturing at the severity of the trauma. But where are we going to go from here? Like, where does this end that you are happy or you are satisfied on Madeline's behalf, even?
A one night stand with Nate Gray.
Oh my god!
Basically happened
Oh,
subtextually.
No, why?
Her own
Why
island.
would you-
What if she
No.
got her own
Why-
island?
Hey, I'm just
Clone
it's a
Koa.
throwback. It's a
Why
throwback.
would you bring that up?
Hi,
Just
have
give her
we
a clone
met?
Koa.
I mean, I would say for me, I want her to get her memories back, and then I want her to go away, and I want her to like not ever have to deal with the X-Men again. And that's how I frame it. She has to deal with them now. She has to deal with that bitch Jean, because she's got all her memories in her head. And how is she going to get it back? And Jean, as usual, is taking the immediate reactive approach and saying, "Oh, slap, a really beautiful slap with hot pink and lots of like crackly bits." But for all the beauty of that slap, I was so mad about it.
Juancho, where does the story end for you that you would be happy with it?
I don't know. I don't think we can go back in time. We're not. We wouldn't strive here, but I'm not exactly sure what will make me happy for Maddie. Yes, I do want her memories to come back, like everyone's saying, but I'm not sure. Like, she's not gonna get Nate or Cable to acknowledge her as her real mother because she didn't raise him, right? So I'm not exactly sure what she wants, and how she's gonna get it just by getting Jean's memories implanted on her. So I'm
All
not
that
sure.
she wants is another baby.
Another baby.
She's gone
She's gone
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Okay, so
Okay,
Oh
but
my
I'm
God,
picturing
you
the
guys.
Britney Spears version though, not like any other
Yeah.
one.
I'm just saying, but there's none of that weird Nazi symbology. None
And
of
so
that.
another question I have for the team is like, is Ilyana just here because this is all kind of her doing? Like, did she just start this? Or do you think that there's work that we need to do before series end? Because remember, we've got another month of this. We've only got one issue of X-Men left, but we've got more issues of Dark Web, and these characters are appearing throughout the series. So by the end of this, do we need to have seen more from Ilyana? Or is she simply here because she, lit the match?
Because she's an NJ Transit bus.
I mean, she's the ultimate expression of me, of someone who had to turn and fight their own shadow self without it being a clone.
Mhm.
And so I think there's a lot of storytelling potential there. I'd like to see it teased out, because I don't want her to just be transpo, because that is what it feels like right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, there ought to be, I would say, but that doesn't mean there's going to be.
I think she should be a bigger part of this. I mean, she caused it. There's moments here and there where we're like, "Oh yeah, you caused this," and like you've got like little Jean running around with little Ileana, but like in some of these other books, some of her huge enemies are showing up, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, is the idea to have her save the day, take back Limbo, and then I don't see a build up to it if that's what's going to happen.
Wait. Who's showing up in other books? Fill me in.
Everybody.
Like
Everybody.
Velasco, Nastir, like Ilyana's.
Yeah. Velasco is over in the
And Mary
pages
Jane and
of
Black
Mary
Cat.
Jane and Black Cat. And
Sim
feel
is
like-
in Mary Jane and Black Cat too?
Ms. Marvel.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Mar, and then Sim had recently been in Thor,
Yes.
and it's like everybody's everywhere, and that's one of the things that I do love. I love the like, I don't know. There used to be a feeling like if somebody showed up in another book, it's lending an idea and sharing a moment, and then it kind of started to be like an ugly cash grab. But I feel like, other than I did maybe feel at times like this was the only title that really represented the X-Men while using a lot of the X-Men's lore. I have felt like this event has really been loving of the X-Men and their lore in a way that, like, oh, okay, Belasco showed up in a book that's not really a Belasco title, but you know what? It can be now, and it's been exciting.
And at the same time, Sync's best moment in this series so far is in a Venom book. And the Venom book has its own problems as a Venom book, but Sync has a really interesting turn that if that's a character you love, regardless of what happens with Venom, which is a lot of stuff, the Sync moment is iconic for the character.
Forever.
You guys, okay, so I guess I got to pick up the Venom.
Yeah, we're telling you on it, dude.
Better or worse?
Yeah, it
Venom
really,
14.
You guys make a strong point about just the idea that X-Men as a brand has really resurged enough in popularity that they can start to do these crossovers that are X-Men leading and X-Men heavy to try and bring other characters up and back in. Dark Web, as Spider-Man has moved into more of that mystical place, trying to cultivate some overlap with other corners of the Marvel universe. It makes a lot of sense. It's brand synergy.
Mhm.
And I think to mixed but mostly successful efforts in this event.
And of course, one character. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm just here for the Goblin Prince of it all.
Thank you. That
oh my
you
God.
and I are on the same wavelength, because that was the question I was asking. It's the one character we haven't dealt with. Poor Goblin Prince, just trying to get pegged, and it's just not working out for him.
He woke up like that.
I love that he's just dressed like Dark Khazar, and we're fine with it. Like,
wonderful.
he literally
Dark
comes
Khazar.
in like a black loincloth, and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm like one of those non-problematic white jungle boys. Look at my loincloth.
Let's talk about our feelings. I've been working on this stuff in my therapy. It's so hot.
He is doing the work.
Wonderful.
Oh yeah,
he's wonderful. I feel like if this whole story came down like from editorial, fiat, Zeb Wells is doing what he can, having a lot of fun and giving us brilliant moments like that, like with the Goblin Prince.
Or that moment where Havoc has his love sense toy in his butt and is getting tips that control it. Was that not? I like that you know the sound. Thank you. Was that not in this book?
I've been around the world. I know what's going on.
That was this book.
I tipped Havoc.
Yeah.
We're getting towards the end here, so I want to start calling for last thoughts, and I want to do it with enough time for everybody to really sound off about where they are with the X-Men and Dark Web.
I'll just start real quickly. Like, there are things I loved about this. It totally reads like a Duggan book, which is what you want to make out of it, like whether you love it or hate it. But there are some fun moments. I do love the puppies around Sykes' head. I love the Goblin Prince look. That's about, yeah.
I really loved seeing Jean with someone I don't associate her with. Like, for all of for all of the ways that people are like, oh, Jean's boring now. Like, she'll never be boring to me. She's the queen of my heart. At 8 years old, my screen name was X Gray Phoenix Boy X, and I stand by it, and I will stand by it till the day I die, then reborn, then die again several issues later, just to prove a point about cycles. And I'm just really excited to see the future of an X-Men where there's fewer rules on who can be friends with who without it disrupting the continuum.
I continue to be worried. I have faith in Zeb, but I do not have faith, I guess, in editorial fiat, perhaps. I worry for Maddie's future. But in the meantime, I'm enjoying brilliant artwork. Forge looking like a goddamn pinup. The team up between the Amazing Friends team up. Hello, that was so fun. Like, if you're writing the story and if you got to put your X-Men with your Spider-Man toys, that's a thing to do, right? Especially now that you have like an in with Firestar, she's like, okay, we can do this, and so I'm enjoying it for what it is, and crossing my fingers.
Wancha, what do you think?
Especially for this is mostly for number 2 and for number 1, but I kind of like how this issue picked up right where Cable left off with Jerry and Phil Notos. Like, they're a great comedic duo, right? Like Forge picking up the hot dog with the 5-second rule, and Maddie's face where you're in therapy. I think like the funny moments are very, very funny. And like, I thought it was really fun to see the Giant Sinister playing in the dollhouse. But in general, I'm not exactly sure what I want from this book, and I'm not sure what this book wants either. So I'm just a bit confused what to expect going forward.
I feel like an idiot because I've been talking about how I have faith in Zeb Wells. This is written by Jerry Dugan.
This is Duggan, but remember, it's a team. It's a team that is doing the whole thing. So having faith in Zeb Wells will make sense, I think, broadly by the time we come to the end.
Well, that's very kind of you, but I feel like a fool, and now I'm absolutely terrified for Maddie. Sorry, updating my answer. Keep going.
So I think that actually the Sinister playing in the dollhouse is a callback to the original Inferno when he was destroying Jean and Maddie's minds, and that's when Jean absorbed Maddie's memories. It was a whole thing. But I remember seeing that panel and being like, that's a callback. That's a callback. When I started reading Dark Web, I had a very bad reaction because I thought, oh my gosh, we're just back to trashing Madeline. Here we go. Misogyny. Like women are wronged again. Issue 2, I walked that back after issue 2, especially after the first scene. It's clear that we're supposed to have pathos for Madeline. She's not a one-sided evildoer, and she never really was, but she went so hard in the original Inferno that, like, it was easy to paint her that way. Now I think we are not fully meant to root for the X-Men, and we're not fully meant to root for Maddie, but I'm still rooting for Maddie. So my hope is that she gets hers. Everyone gets out relatively unscathed. I would love to see Jean taken down a peg in terms of her moral high ground, because Madeline didn't ask to be a clone of Jean Grey, and Jean Grey has been just such an amazing bitch to her, like, her entire life. I'm just like, can't get over it. I'm sorry. You feel violated. She feels violated. You can read her mind. Have some empathy.
X-Man 25, we're looking at you. You were awful.
I wish we could actually like remedy that, but I think we just have to. The only remedy is to forget it.
The memory hole.
You know, take our forget-me-nows and.
I have great news though. There is a remedy. That remedy.
It was
Jake.
the right clean.
The remedy is, Jake, would you mind giving us your amazing sign-off since we're about to lose you and Arturo? Both. I would love to get your guys' sign-offs before we pop over to commercial for Amazing Spider-Man time, because I hyped it and then we didn't do it because I'm a liar. So, Jake, Arturo, guys, give me those sign-offs so that we can know where we can follow your amazing asses.
I said my name first. So I'll go first. I'm Jake. I'm Jake, and you can find me on Twitter at Omega Sentinel. That's OH Mega Sentinel, and also on Instagram at the Heart Farmer, as in I farm your hearts and they go.
And I'm Arturo, and you guys can follow me at Mr. Toybox on Twitter and on Instagram, where I have resurrected the corpse of my account. And I have been posting again, and I do like action figure photography, and I've been out of it for like over a year, but I'm back, baby. So Mr. Toybox.
Yeah. Well, like Kevo says, fucking fire.
Thank you guys so much for talking about Dark Web X-Men. This was such a good time. I'm so excited for us to revisit this conclusion next month. And until then,
commercials for like and subscribe.
See you in love.
All right. Well, I'm putting things in the trusty spider hands of one Mr. Spider Nathan.
I'm Spider Nathan. All right, so we have one new voice, the Mary Jane to my Peter Parker. Introduce yourself, babe.
Hello, it's me, Steve. My pronouns are they and them, and I'm here to eat some brains.
All right, so like, where is everybody at with Spider-Man? Like, did you just jump on for Dark Web, or were you reading it long before? I gotta say, like, I was kind of reading it, then I dropped it, and then I went back and reread a lot of it because Steve was talking about it so much. So I was like, oh my god, it sounds amazing, and it really is so good.
I've been reading so much Spider-Man for this show that I found myself like, okay, this seems like a good time to jump on. It's Zeb Wells, some really amazing art. I'm excited about where the characters have been going and where they might be headed. So, I jumped on at number one. I think I always manage to catch up, so I'm never too far behind. But I definitely was like, okay, I was caught up for Judgment Day, and then I stayed caught up for Dark Web, and now I'm webbing myself all caught.
And I feel like I took the other side of things from Nico. He was doing Amazing Spider-Man, so I did Slot's Spider-Verse Spider-Man that's been happening. And I have paid attention to this throughout. I wanted to make sure I was all caught up for Judgment Day because, of course, it was very X-Men relevant what happened, what the crossover was there. But, I've been paying attention. I also just we do a lot of spider adjacent stuff that isn't Peter Parker specifically. And I've been trying to keep in that zone of not reading so much Peter and seeing what life is like when you just follow all the other spider people more than you really follow Peter.
I have been reading the entire Amazing Spider-Man arc from the beginning. This is my first ongoing Spider-Man run that I've read, and it is it's maybe my favorite comic. Was one of my very favorite comics of last year. It's amazing. It's phenomenal. I have been in love with it the whole time, and I, as you know, I'm a devotee of New Mutants, and for me, this was the most organic crossover event I've seen in forever, because everything that has been happening in Spider-Man since Beyond, which I also read, and everything that's been happening in X-Men with the clones, with Maddie, with Ben, all of this seems like it was coming to a head, and it's amazing how everything has just woven together so beautifully. It's been a blast and a delight.
So, just to give some context, I was reading the Spencer run, the one before, up to around issue 25 when I just couldn't anymore and dropped it. So I didn't read the end of that one, and I didn't read Beyond. But Seb Wells coming off hot from Hellions, picked it up. I haven't really enjoyed it, Steve.
I'm sorry to hear that. I know.
I think the only issue I really liked was the Judgment Day issue, which was fantastic. But in general, because I've been reading, because it's Spider-Man, right? How can you not read Spider-Man? And I'm not sure. I haven't really liked this run. I've been a bit disappointed. I don't think Peter's character makes sense, really. The whole 6-month thing that has not been explained yet. I haven't really liked it. So yeah, but I'm reading everything, and we'll see.
I'll be glad to talk to you more about it later.
Yeah,
And that's fair. That 6-month thing is something that actually we do learn a little bit more about some things that happened in some of these other tie-ins, and in this issue itself, there's some real more bombs that are dropped in these issues. If you have been reading along the whole time, you probably went into this event not really expecting to know more about what happened in the 6 months, but we are finding clues here and there as to what happened, and it's kind of exciting if you're following it. Of course, as a big MJ and Peter shipper, I had that problem at first with this run, but when I go back and reread it, every time I do, I just Sarah McLachlan's Building a Mystery is playing in my head. Zeb Wells is building some kind of mystery here that I trust him enough as a storyteller to kind of give it the benefit of the doubt and see where it's going with it.
And I don't need a couple to be together to learn a lot about them. Yeah. So, as a person who ships MJ and Peter, I also am oh, they're not together. How am I supposed to read this book? But, at the same time, I'm they're not together. So what does that tell me about what I don't get when they aren't together that I look for from when they are together? What does that tell me about who they are when they're apart that I can learn from to see who they are together better? So I feel the same way. Like I went in kind of like that part because I'm somewhere between Steve and Juancho, even though I'm up and to the right. I'm like a little bit, the book is doing challenging, exciting things, and I'm a little bit like, it's just not my favorite execution month to month. So Nathan, I think you summarized my feelings well. I was really upset because they're not together, but they make it worth it not being together.
They do. And like I was like with Beyond, Spider-Man Beyond, it really kind of ended with like, oh cool, they're gonna get back together, and they didn't. But there is a mystery here. That like Mary Jane has kids that are not babies. Like she has grown ass kids. Like
grown ass kids.
I mean, they're like 5 or 6, whatever, but they're grown ass for like 6 months.
I was gonna say not 6 months old.
Yeah,
they're significantly more than 6 months old, and we'll see why very soon.
But to dive into the actual issues itself, I did love how it opened on the scene of the baby carriage trying to eat the baby in like some real classic Inferno camp goodness. I think throughout the issue we got a lot of scenes that were, there was a scene specifically in Miss Marvel that was replicated that we saw the opposite side of it. So like I think this is serving as the driving book for the plot of the Dark Web event, where the other issues are more filling it in and giving us a lot more detail in the process. How do you feel though about the idea of Ben Reilly being so distorted from his memory loss that he blames Peter and will do anything to make his life right again?
Very funny. Not the psychoreactive goo.
I mean, that so really it is funny. Like it just the fact that there's not a little bit more tongue in cheek and a little bit more silliness to how over the top it is the one thing that has me just a little bit like, it's not even bad. It's just not quite the vibe that I'm looking for. I
laughed my ass off through this issue, through both of these.
Why is he wearing sleeves?
That's the other thing. I need my Scarlet Spider back. But I actually really do love Chasm. Like I love the look, and I love the kind of like forceful personality that he has. I'm just kind of like, all this for, a really bad trip. Like we gotta deal with this a little bit.
All power, no responsibility. I love that shit. Amazing. Yeah. That's Ben Reilly in a nutshell.
All gas, no brakes.
The quick battle, as it were, between Venom and Parker, like really didn't seem to do justice to the many years of anonymity. I can't say that word. Animosity between the two of them.
Nailed it.
Yes. So, did we think that the quick resolution to this is like sort of just shows how Venom isn't as important as a character in this arc, or do we think it's just how they progressed over the years?
I too have been defeated by the screaming trees. I heard Sweet Oblivion and it knocked me dead.
The Venom stuff takes me all the way back to our Limbo episode, because Venom's got this whole other thing going on that is really pretty tangential to this, but they found an interesting way to tie it in. The fact that he is in this story as just this kind of brainless bulk zombie, again, is really funny to me. Like, because I know that he's getting his own stuff in his own book, and that his kind of over-the-top, very dramatic storyline and like, I have to get my son at all times is dealt with. The fact that he's in this just being like kind of a mindless like idiot is to me really fun and funny, but I am very impressed with the fact that it is so tied into a really important part of his story that's taking place mostly elsewhere and just happens to intersect with this, like basically by way of Limbo itself being an important part of that.
Do y'all like this amazing Ed McGuinness Venom in combination with Zeb Wells' humor? Because this is shit me not, Tom Hardy's Venom on the page, I could not help but read it exactly like that, and that is to every Venom comics benefit. Like more of this. Ed McGuinness on a Venom comic with Zeb Wells writing it. Oh my goodness, it would be brilliant. I loved his art in this.
And McGuinness really draws like that.
Yeah, and McGuinness should draw all porn. Like, if it exists and it is erotic in my brain, Ed McGuinness is there, and he's just making it better. And his Venom is like so long. Yeah, he's got the. There's a thickness to the dexterity of him that I really appreciate. It's hard to be like daddy thick and agile, and McGuinness always gets it every time. I don't know how do you make a refrigerator seem sexy and ballerina like, but Venom's doing it.
It makes Ben so weird though, getting up in Venom's face and shit.
Yeah, the proportion gets really like deformed in a good way, like in a very Humberto Ramos kind of like the way the deformed proportion has to fit on the page together. It makes the fight sequences exciting.
Oh, it does. The art and this is an artist who really knows how to do that sequential stuff, that where it's not like where it's fluid and it's going and it's not just like still pictures. Like every panel tells a story on the page. So like there's no panel space or no panel that seems extraneous. There's no like 9 panels on every page that have no reason.
One thing I know Ed McGuinness is really good, but there's always been one thing bothering me about his art is that his heads are really big, like proportionally. And
they always look like beer steins.
So they always throws me off. But one thing I really want to highlight, but for me was really great, was the colors in both issues. I really liked Marcio Menezes' art. Yeah, colors. They were great. And especially at the beginning of issue 16, when Ben and Peter are fighting and the background is a different color. I really like that one.
Yeah, Marcio sings on these. Just the combination of like Rathbun's inks they're so suited to McGuinness, and then Menezes' colors have been really good throughout this run, but they're so bright and like colorful and cartoony here, and it perfectly fits how like I know there's a word for it, but I don't know what the word is, but like toy-like an action figure.
Yeah.
And McGuinness' style is.
Yeah, I gotta say, even too, like Joe Campagna on the lettering really like kind of like hit it out of the park with a lot of the effects and the this big giant right here. It's like this whole comic is full of this, and it doesn't. Yes, exactly. Like, and you've got all the Venom stuff, and then even when you get to this last page where Spider-Man's in his own personal hell and he's just at work, which I totally feel him on that. Like the boss is like, get back to work, and it's like in the big giant red letters, and it's just great work all around.
Don't you think Ben Reilly is going a little hard on the villain coding? Speaking of the colors, he's literally like glowing purple and green
and purple.
It looks so good. It looks so good as a color combination, and it looks really good in this configuration. But it's hilarious how like edgy Ben is right now. He is like, I am a villain. Take me seriously.
I also so much credit when it comes to Madeline, because they run the gamut with her. Her first appearance in 15, she shows up in like really, in some ways, like big resplendent glory, but then she has this just soft, like almost baby doll face. And then immediately in the next page, we cut to much darker, more angular features for her. And it really gives us the full Madeline experience. Like, she is this like soft creature worthy of love. No, she's the Goblin Queen. And like those really sharp, like kind of malicious looks in her eyes are accompanied by like a panel of tentacle monster mailbox. Like, it is the full spectrum experience for her in this, in a way that, you know, even Noto and Rice, who do some amazing art for her, it's their styles, but like we don't go all over the place with it. McGuinness really like takes us every part of this character.
And I just wanted to say, Joe Caramagna, as a letterer, it just actually has adapted a bunch of the Ultimate Spider-Man animated series into comic form. So he's actually a guy who's like so connected to the Spider-Verse, and I think you really do see the love from this creative team on every page. And you know, I'm certainly not speaking for you, Juancho, in any way, but it's a book that I feel like even if it's not your jam, you can look at it and go, "But they're masters. I can learn something from this, even if it's not my shit."
Oh yeah, agreed. I mean, just because a story doesn't work for me or for anyone doesn't mean it's not crafted well,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a story that on paper makes perfect sense, right? Two clones connected because they lost big chunks of their memories and they want to get them back, and that's the driving force behind it all. And everybody who is a big player on the team Limbo side is really wants something back. Like
Yeah.
Eddie just wants Dylan back. Chasm just wants his memories back. Janine just wants Chasm to be okay. And you know, Maddie just wants her memories back of freezing Cable.
And
Not killing him.
I agree. You're right. Number one, two clones chilling in a hot tub, but like
It's so good.
it's just two clones coming together and wanting something. And you know, it worked when it was the plot of the Parent Trap, so I don't see why it can't work now.
You know, but Nika, the one thing I want to point at that we were talking about such a long time ago and doesn't appear to be coming up, and I have some questions. Do you remember when we were like, hey, this Craven is also a clone? And it turns out there's like all these Craven clones in the world. I really thought that was a part of this. Maybe it's coming in the second half.
You know who else is a clone?
Nice
Tell
guy.
me.
Ashley Kafka.
Yep. I did.
Sorry, the second clone. She's the two-time clone.
And
All of
she's
my
a
90s Spidey
queen.
stuff. She is. All of my 90s Spidey stuff was like, wait, Dr. Kafka is what? Who? What?
She's a two-time clone. She's a Halloween queen. Everything
She's a
I
queen.
need.
She's a queen. She's a queen.
She's a queen. All right. So as we wrap up our amazing Spider-Man coverage, what are y'all's final thoughts on these issues and the event as a whole, since this is the driving force?
So, and I'm including part of 17 because I already read it, but I think there's a problem for me in this event on the Spider-Man side, not on the X-Men side, but on the Spider-Man side, is that I don't really take this event seriously at all, right? Like, I know it's supposed to be fun, but I don't know. It's hard for me to take it seriously, and it does feel like, and I'm harping again on Spider-Man editorial because, I mean, I already did it, but whatever. It doesn't feel like they knew what they wanted to do with Ben, and they just, Maddie's a clone, so we need a clone for Spider-Man. Boom, throw it together in event. And I'm not exactly sure it works. It does not work for me. I know it works for some of you and definitely for some of our audience, but it doesn't for me. And I'm thinking maybe after Dark Web ends, it's when I drop off Seb's Spider-Man. And yeah, I think that's it for me.
Fair.
Well, Juancho, I am personally sorry that this run has not been working for you. You know, I always want the best for you in the comics reading experience. This run of Spider-Man in general has seemed to be divisive among its fans, and Dark Web doubly so. I happen to fall on the side of the divide that I think it's a wildly fun time, both the run and this event. I'm really loving every second of it. I laugh my ass off every time I read an issue. I get mind-blowing little bits that inform my reads of both Venom and The Amazing Spider-Man as I go. It's been a delight.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's really low investment for me on the Spider-Man side, which is not a bad place to be in. And I'm not saying that I'm not compelled to invest more, but I came into it with so little stake. And so the fact that it is really expansive in dealing with not just the Spider-Man mythos, but the mythos of everything that makes Dark Web an event and sort of pulls out of themes like the same ones from Inferno. I've just been very pleased with how it's all fitting together. And like, this is an event, like I said, it's really like a ballet. All the parts have to move together in sync. And, you know, Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man issues are contributing to that so well and really giving us, like I said, a different side of Maddie. We're seeing characters like Venom and Hallows Eve and getting more viewpoints from them. And it's just a really full picture that I'm enjoying.
You know when you smoke a ton of weed with your bass player in your band and then you go to the TGI Fridays that's like a minute from your house and you order unlimited Esk Long Island iced teas for $3 a glass and the bartender is kind of hitting on your friend so they keep sending you really strong drinks to make friends with you and you have to look at that fucking inside of Guy Fieri's head that is a TGI Fridays in this experience, Flavor Town. That's sort of how I feel about this arc with no malice. It's just like it's such a distorted view of everything. It's I think it's good. I'm positive on it. It's okay to be cheesy and white and suburban sometimes. And
feels like there's malice, but
no, it was my life. I did it. But I feel like it's just like such a disorienting experience and I'm in for it. And speaking of in for it, I feel as though while we have some new people coming on, Juancho, this might be your last segment with us for the day.
Yeah.
So please give us your sign off so everybody can find you and bring us on into commercial.
So you can find me at Lost in Krakoa, and you should definitely read Black Cat and Mary Jane because it's really fun.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, yeah.
yes,
So good.
absolutely.
And please, if you liked what you're hearing, don't forget to check out each one of our amazing correspondents in their available social medias. And make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel so you can get everything you need, as well as from xsforpodcast.com, which has everything you're looking for, except one thing that you can only get right here, right now, and that's this banging ass commercial.
And everybody, we are back. So we are back covering Venom 14 and Gold Goblin 2. We do have one new voice. Introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, it's me, Jonah. You can follow me over on Twitter and Instagram at Peak Jonah. That's PEAK, and we hope you survived this experience. Unlike, well, those 5 people taking the C train, I think.
All right. So Venom number 14 is brought to us by Al Ewing. Brian Hitch is our penciler. We've got Andrew Curie and Alex Sinclair and VC's Clayton Cowles. And then Gold Goblin number 2 is brought to us by Christopher Cantwell. Lan Medina is our inker and our penciler. Antonio Fabella as our colorist, and VC's Joe Sabino. So, like, just to dive into this, like the idea that Al Ewing is writing a Venom book is so fascinating to me. I don't know if it was ever enough to get me reading the book until this event because I'm just not a Venom guy. But like, I just can't wait to see what
Nathan,
is going on here.
I'm telling you, after everything we've discussed these last few months, from, like I said, the Limbo segment to what we've talked about in Defenders, like it's all coming together. Even X-Men stuff.
Look, Steve's trying to tell me to like read it all the time, but I'm like, oh, it's Al Ewing, but it's Venom, but it's Al Ewing.
I'm just glad that like Venom's not secretly piloting a Venom spaceship through space.
Give it time.
The Venom run by Al Ewing and Ram V and various, Brian Hitch, Andrew Curry, Alex Sinclair, all these people. That run, it is a perfect spiral with a line cutting straight through it to the center. That's it.
It really is a fantastic run. It's giving us so much of what we've come to associate with Ewing. And I think, putting people like Brian Hitch on it, just like the varied artistic voices that are paired with Ewing really can make for some interesting experiences. And I'm just like, I've got the issue queued up. I'm even just looking at like this first panel in Limbo with like what is essentially a naked Eddie Brock in a black body paint. And just, oh man, just everything about it.
Eddie Brock is the black body paint now, which is the best part. Yeah. Something I want to get out of the way just while we're talking about this. I really love this series, but something that has never been my favorite part of the series became really jarring when it became a part of this crossover. So Brian Hitch's art has never been my favorite. I'm not a huge Brian Hitch person. I've become less so over the years. But Hitch's work and Andrew Curry's inks and Alex Sinclair's weird, pale, plastic, washed out, dull coloring has worked to the benefit of a Venom book because everything looks vinyl and latex and shiny, and it lends itself to the materials that are really going on in the book. But when it comes across like the vibrant coloring that we've seen elsewhere in this, from Marcio Minis and various other colorists throughout, it's jarring. It's like a train wreck. Like when I was reading this issue specifically, when we got to the parts with Sync in it, his yellow is so pale and washed out and like lifeless, and it's weird. It made my enjoyment of this issue weirdly less so, even though the rest of the run also looks like this. But I'd like to register a complaint with these colors.
I felt like Sync was the color I expect Darwin to be, and that was an uncomfortable coloration issue for me. But the fact that I'm sitting here saying this issue of Venom I read this month because it had Limbo, also Sync.
Yeah. Also,
I'm like, oh, okay.
Also, leave it to a dark web tie-in. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, you're good. I'm just so touched that like Sync is that fucking X-Man now, and like he shows up in these fucking books. It's just so cool. It's so cool, and such an incredibly loving job by Al Ewing, who, as far as I know, doesn't have like the deepest Sync history. Just like is somebody who knows the X-Men that well that he can dial into an X-Man as needed. Really moving.
The master of mutation. I love that.
I do love how Maddie referred to him as the most powerful member of the X-Men, and I'm like, ooh, okay, there's two, there's an Omega, Miss Jean Grey, but okay, I love that. Love that for Sync. Love that. I think the thing I liked the most about this story was getting more characterization on Hallows Eve.
Yeah.
Like, I think getting to know her more as a character really was like so exciting to me because I don't know, I'm all fucking in. Like, she's Halloween fucking themed. Like, sign me up. Like, inject her in my blood. That's fine. I'll be high on
Party
Hallows Eve.
City Queen.
You know what's the opposite of spiders? Everybody knows what's the opposite of spiders. It's Halloween. It's Halloween, baby. It used to be octopuses, but it's Halloween now.
I thought wasps were the arch enemies of spiders, but
I mean, according to Dan Slott, they are. So, maybe that will all come together in another year.
And he has walked off set. He has left. He is not coming back.
Oh.
No. We have.
I love
He
it
is
because,
coming
like,
back.
Jonah, has this made you
Halloween
into
is literally-
into a Hallows Eve fan
Yeah.
at this point?
So I don't know who this woman is. So I got dropped into this event, and I'm reading this, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can read this. The last I left off with Venom was the Null event with the Null and everything to do with his son. So like all of that part I was good, and then we get to the parts with Hallows Eve, and I was like, I don't know who she is, and I feel bad. We were talking a little bit about the art and the coloring. A lot of pages seemed like they were dipped in orange for me. Like it looked like there was almost this orange hue over everything, and it was a little off-putting in a certain way that I don't know if it really registered with me and like resonated in a way that the effect was trying to give. But she was there and she was talking about Halloween and putting a mask on, and I guess this issue doesn't give a lot of context about this character and exactly her role. She seems to care about Eddie/Venom and wants to kind of protect him in a certain way, so she's doing the necessary evil of teaming up with Madeline Pryor because she knows that's what she can do to get to her end goal of helping Eddie.
You mean Ben? Sorry.
Oh, Ben. Sorry,
yeah,
Ben.
yeah.
Thank you so much for correcting me, Ben. But outside of that,
Ben.
I don't
Oh, those
really
spiders.
know if this was like the best introductory jump-in issue for somebody. If someone's reading this entire event and they're not currently reading Venom, I don't know if she's a character from Venom. I don't know where she's from. So she's just kind of there for me.
It's from Amazing Spider-Man. Hilariously, she's never shown up in this series yet and may never again. So the readers of Venom would also be completely like, who is this?
But at the same time, like, Sync hasn't either.
Yeah,
So-
well, Sync hasn't either. Or
Yeah, which I think is a really great thing. Like, that question.
Actually, I'm sorry, but I have to actually yourself about yourself. Because we recently read an issue of Amazing Spider-Man
I was gonna get into this
by Tom DeFalco
Yep.
featuring Sync, and I made you read that, so you have to eat your words.
Honest to God, that is all I could think about while we were reading this. Is like, it just kind of is a bit of a full circle moment that is a completely non-circle moment. But it is. It's back to that idea that like the parts are moving throughout each issue really well. And on the one hand, I totally get Jonah like saying like I had no idea who that was. I didn't really know who she like. I knew that the character existed, but I didn't know anything about her until I went back and did some research, having read this issue. But like just right off the bat, this issue made me be like, okay, I actually care enough to want to get to know because she just seems cool.
I've been such a fan of this character since first reading her in Spider-Man Beyond. Like, I've been in love with Janine Godby, and I had no idea she was Elizabeth Tyne. I had no idea of that connection. That blew my mind listening to your earlier coverage. While I was listening to it, I was like, no fucking way. She's great. She is great.
Well, we have to look out for her twin sister, Mischief Night, which is the day before Halloween.
Yes!
Well,
Ooh.
and I'm repping that back here with May and April, but like now I can't help but think how like seriously some like Daredevil versus Bullseye level shit would be Elsa Bloodstone versus Hallows Eve. Like the ultimate can be any monster versus the ultimate monster hunter.
Killer. Yep.
I would read that so hard. I just think it's great. And I think the other thing that this issue gave me was like, it sounds so stupid, but hope. Okay. I felt like Venom gave me hope. I felt like Gold Goblin snatched my hope away from me, but I felt like Venom gave me hope.
Gold
So
Goblin
let's-
is rough. Gold
let's
Goblin
get
continues
into
to be
that.
rough. I love
Let's-
this series, and the art is shocking and astonishing every issue. Like this issue of Gold Goblin with the bit with Goblin, Queen Goblin. Good lord, I cannot say it correctly anytime. When Queen Goblin is coming from above and like devouring Norman, and he's being dragged down by all the souls of the people he's killed or mangled or hurt. It's so heartbreaking. Every page of Gold Goblin breaks my heart for Norman every time, and I wish they would stop doing it, but I'm kind of addicted to it now, so I can't. And this is a series I've begged for, and it happened. So sorry to all those people who hate that Norman Osborn has a comic.
I feel so bad that I love Queen Goblin so much, and I skipped over the part where she's like, the fucking has the sins of Norman Osborn. Like, I'm like,
So did
what?
Norman.
Right.
Should have asked Peter. Should have asked Peter. The most gorgeous page in that comic.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And I love that it's Dr. Kafka. I'm like, oh my god, like, holy hell, like this arc is like 90s nostalgia driven to the extreme. We just need Adam X to show up, and then bam, it'd be super extreme. But like having
Who
Dr.
doesn't love a
Kafka,
flaming dummy mommy?
right?
Definitely not. I mean, Norman says he looks right at her and he's like, it's like looking into a mirror. And I'm like, damn straight, Norman.
The dream for Norman is exactly that. Yeah, I thought I was just going to be totally against this series, and I'm so impressed with the way that they have managed to situate an ever so slightly different villain going good-ish, that like A, it doesn't feel like it's going to stick. B, it feels like completely tenuous and very messy. And C, it really does feel like the point of this is he can never do better and get better. Like it is, however it's going to go, like he can't right what has been wrong. Like Magneto comes in, in the Utopia era and starts this long path, which gets us to a place where we're all like, no, I get Magneto. Magneto's a great guy. I love Magneto. I don't think that could ever happen for Norman. And Gold Goblin has really impressed me with the fact that it is not trying to make me think otherwise. It's maybe trying to further push me into like, yeah, just keep watching him fail to ever wash away his sins.
I think it's compelling to watch him keep trying.
Yeah.
I don't want him to stop. I just don't want him to get it.
Yeah.
Big time Dan Scott vibes.
Yeah. You know what? I think from listening to everybody before, I think this was maybe what they were wanting from Maddie instead of getting it from Norman Osborn. So like, I love that we live in a world that Zeb Wells has created a Norman Osborn that Christopher Cantwell has taken and like just making it so I'm like, okay, cool. I need to know what's going to happen with the rest of the series. Like that's something I never thought would ever happen in a million years, especially after Dark Reign.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Jonah, have you? Oh, I'm sorry. Jonah, have you ever read Norman Osborn before this ever?
No, never. So this is my first Norman Osborn. This is my comic debut of any Goblin. I don't believe I've seen a Goblin in a comic yet. From what I've read,
you got two goblins on your first Goblin go out?
I got double the Goblin. I was looking. I saw Gold Goblin and I looked over at Nico and I was like, I want the rainbow goblins. Get me one of every color. And he was like, that's kind of a thing already. And I was like, oh, well, never mind. I don't want it anymore. It's already there.
Batshit way to start with Norman Osborn.
Yeah. But,
had you done Spider-Man movies or anything?
Well, that's why I said comics.
No, I know. I'm saying, like, do you know, like, have you seen, like, the movie such that you, like, know?
I've seen the original Spider-Man trilogy way back when I was a youngster.
Okay. Cool.
And so, like, I am familiar with the concept of Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, Red Goblin. Well, I don't know exactly what Red Goblin is, but he's just kind of like
Goblin.
But, like, this book was actually comparative to Venom, where I felt like I didn't have a lot of idea what was going on with the main character and title character of Venom, and he was just kind of there and not really, having a lot of agency in the story. This story, for jumping into Gold Goblin, actually gives a lot of information of where Norman currently is in his character arc and journey, and I actually found it a lot more fascinating, especially because his sins are literally crawling on his back and like whispering in his ear, like, you're a bad person. And I thought that was so delicious to revel in his angst and like anguish of I'm trying to be a good person, but I literally just can't. there's something very compelling about this very sad story. I don't know if there's a better way to put it. Of like, it's just kind of enjoyable to watch him suffer.
Yeah, when they bring out Mucky, like that was like I know we're doing like the goofy demon shit, but that is not even part of it. His dog that he clubbed to death when he was 7, that makes an appearance in this issue.
Blame JMD.
Yeah, the footnotes blame JMD Mateus.
Best moment.
So here's my problem with this series. Like I actually really love that we're getting a look into Norman Osborn. I love the writing. I just don't love how this is a dark web tie-in, but it feels extraneous if nothing else. Like if I'm going to get the Queen Goblin in an event that has Maddie Pryor, I need the Queen Goblin and the Goblin Queen to fucking team up and like gobble everything.
Maybe they will.
I hope so.
We got a whole other month to find out.
I too would like some cock gobbling in this book.
They're both
clones.
Wait, was that not the thing? Were we not tipping Alex on his? I'm sorry, I got confused. My bad.
Yeah, there will be no cock gobbling.
There will be no cock gobbling.
Says you.
Oh, hey, shout out to I forget her name, but the woman who works for Mr. Osborn and says, oh, why don't you just go home and go goblin mode? And
go goblin mode, yeah.
Oh my god, please don't fire me.
She realizes that she said that to him.
Oh, am I fired? I'm fired, right?
Okay, I love her. The first issue, she was amazing.
Absolutely.
She's like, oh my god. Like, I want a whole series like around her. Like, I need it.
I just need to point out that there's a goblin missing. I would really like Elan, the
queen.
She is so horrible and god awful, and she's
if we've got
terrible.
Elizabeth Tyne, Elan can't be far behind. But we can discuss that another day. I know we've got some other books to cover.
You know what I'm sad about? I'm sad that there's no Julia Carpenter in this arc. I'm just kidding. In this whole thing. You know what? Madam Web deserves better. Anyway.
Because she's currently over in the Spider book. The other Spider book.
Oh, I have to read another Spider book.
The one I'm reading. Yeah, she's fully in Slot Spider-Man.
I was going to say, most of the Spider line is so damn good right now. Like, almost all of them. So close to all of them. Are really good.
So close.
So close.
So many, but not all of these books.
Yeah.
So, as we wrap up these 2 amazing issues, what are any of y'all's final thoughts? I'm just going to say, I liked Venom and Gold Goblin. I think they were a little bit more... They were less necessary to the plot of the overall Dark Web, and they were a lot more tie-in things. They do great work for the characters that are in them. It's amazing to see Sync outside of the X-Men. I love seeing the recognition of him as one of the most powerful mutant members of the X-Men team right now. And I love what's going on with Norman Osborn. I wish these would make a little bit more, fit a little bit tighter into the plot of Dark Web overall.
For me, it's like if you wanted to trick me into buying some books that I absolutely would not have bought otherwise, 1, great success. 2, you gave me good value out of it. Like,
yeah, you liked it, didn't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I should say, like, I started reading Venom after we did the Limbo episode, but it was also because I knew Dark Web was coming up. And Gold Goblin I would not have read. Absolutely, I would not have. And both of them, like, I'm not at all unhappy that I picked them up. So, if that's the trade with Marvel, if they have to, like, really try and force me to read stuff in crossover events, if they make it this good, done.
We've been reading so much fucking Spider-Man. Oh my god. And I thought I would be really tapped out on Spider-Man. No. I wish that the sexiest Spider-Man of all time...
Don't start. I knew you were going to do that.
Pete Spider-Man. Hey, baby.
Wait, does he have a Peter tingle?
I can only dream.
Spider Crocs.
CPA. He has all the powers of a slightly overweight, slightly middle-aged spider. He's got like really basic villains like Craven the House Flipper. He wears a fanny pack. I
Craven
am
the
like
House Flipper.
super attracted to him. I think he's so fucking hot. I
got
lose
Spider Crocs and puts
my
them into sports
mind.
mode.
Yeah, I can't handle it. Hold on. I'm done. That's just what I wish. I just wish Pete Spiderman would show
I
up.
know.
Other people,
I
please
know
don't.
you do.
Jonah.
So for me, I don't know if Venom fully hit the mark. I enjoyed what I enjoyed most of what was in there, but I think I was just a little too confused. Oh, there he is. Oh no. Oh no, that's a
Okay.
PTA dad.
Oh, hey, handsome. Oh my god, he's so hot. I can't stand it. I can't stand he's so hot.
Oh, he does have Spider Crocs. That's embarrassing.
I told
Oh,
you.
He
I
has a
love him
spider
so
fanny
much.
pack.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Oh, he's so fucking cute. I can't stand it.
Oh my god,
Oh my
and a
god.
spider polo. I love it. He's so
I do like the
adorable.
spider polo. That is nice.
Oh, he's so dreamy.
Venom was a little bit of a miss for me, but I actually really enjoyed Gold Goblin, and I might actually start reading Gold Goblin because I don't know. It's actually
Issue
for
one
a
was really
book
good.
that's about a character being redeemed, which is around. I've read like a couple of like stories of characters that were villains and have now gone to the good side, but this one feels good. Like I actually like the way the story is being handled.
I am Goblin pilled. I am Venom pilled. There is a very spicy surprise for anybody who is actually reading Venom at the end of this silly little dark web tie-in comic issue. I am having an absolute blast reading all of these comic books. I have never been happier to be a Spider-Man reader of all of the various Spider books, but a few. And I'm shocked to even say that as a diehard X-Men reader and not a Spider-Man reader normally, but I have been loving it. I'm loving Carnage. Rope that shit in here. Put it in dark web. I know it's not in here, but it should be.
I was surprised it wasn't, honestly.
Yeah. I'm pumped for the fall of the summer of the symbiotes, whatever.
Well, and there's symbiotes in every book now. Like there's symbiotes over in every X title, and like I'm waiting for like Fall of the Ghost Riders because now everything's got a spirit of vengeance. It's gonna be fun. I can't wait for the symbiote of vengeance. It's gonna be so over the top gay. It's gonna be everything I've ever needed.
Oh my god! Imagine if the spirit of symbiote, the symbiote of vengeance, fights the spirit of variance.
I'm pregnant, and
And with
I'm,
that,
I was going to say, that's the commercials right there.
There we go.
With this commercial. All right, and we're back with one more outfit change for me. And if I don't know, I wear Deadpool on the show so much, I feel weird if I don't. So we're back to take a look at two more books, and One of them was a humongous surprise for me in a really positive way, and one of them was the level of excellent I expected, right? I've been reading Black Cat pretty consistently since Jonah and I covered the Wolverine two-parter a zillion trillion billion years ago on the show, like when it came out, and I've been loving the shit out of that book. Here we have Jed McKay, Vincenzo Carati, Brian Reber, and VC's Ariana Marr. And then over on the absolute like highlight surprise of my week, not that I expected anything less, but I wasn't ready for such a well-paced time. It was just a case where I was like, the pacing, right? We have Dark Web Ms. Marvel by Sabir Pirzada, Francesco Mortarino, Dono Sanchez Amara, and VC's Ariana Marr, who has said that no one needs to ever say her name right twice in a row. So I do go out of my way to butcher Marr as bad as I can every time.
It's
And
beautiful.
I want to, yeah, right? It's stunning. And speaking of stunning, we have three incredible superhero women on this screen right now. We have Mary Jane, Black Cat, and Ms. Marvel, three women who represent the hallmarks of Spider Women. I know that Ms. Marvel isn't strictly a spider character, but she in every way represents the female equivalent of what Miles has become to the Marvel Universe at large. And
Which is something we just talked about.
Yeah, I believe she really does stand for the same thing as a Spider-Man in so many important ways. And I would love to get your guys' thoughts on these three incredible women to start this thing off.
So, because I'm coming from this place of doing a lot of this Spider world, but not Peter Parker specific reading with you, Nico, Mary Jane especially has this huge place in my soul right now. And I really see the ways in which 616 Mary Jane doesn't always get her due in the same way that characters like Spinneret from Renew Your Vows get. And even, there's our girl, even, you know, Mary Jane in MC2, who is a mother, but just like, I should say, but who is a mother and somebody who is just like completely unflappable in the face of superhero stuff. I just, this was a really great take on the character and a version of her that is seems to have much more agency in terms of like Marvel events. Felicia Hardy is just such a badass. And, you know, the fact that they're having a little bit of relationship drama and like maybe sort of failing the Bechdel test, it works because they are both failing it and doing more than it. And then Miss Marvel, I mean, like, she holds down basically any book she's in as long as the writer is there. She's somebody I would follow in essentially anything. And, you know, no change. She's randomly in a dark web book. Why should she be here? Oh, simple, because she's just a lab assistant, but it works.
Okay, so Miss Marvel might seem a little tangential, but they have kind of built it up over the run of Spider-Man. At least like she's appeared, and she's like, especially in the beautiful Judgment Day issue, like she had her own stuff going on while she was there, you know. If you're not following Spider-Man, you're probably like, why the fuck is Kamala Khan, like, why is she here, like, why is she doing this event? Like, you're like, why? But it makes sense. There's a really strong story element for it.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with these books. Surprise! As if that isn't what I say about every segment that we're on right now. But I'm a longtime Ms. Marvel reader. I've been reading since Ms. Marvel #1, volume 3, whatever, the first volume of Kamala Khan's Ms. Marvel. So when I tell you that when the inventor Thomas Edison showed up, oh my God, I lost my mind. I could not believe this guy is back. Never thought he'd come back. No reason to.
Yeah, when they explained that to me, we were like, when I was reading it right next to them, like I was like, what? And they're like, wait,
yeah, I want to be clear.
Yeah, that's our first villain.
I want to be clear. That is Thomas Edison. That's not a bird named after Thomas Edison. That is the cloned Thomas Edison with cocktail DNA and robot parts. It's a whole thing, but that is Thomas Edison, just as evil as he was during his real life. And I'm also a huge Black Cat fan. his entire Black Cat saga has been incredible through all of the various. It's like the Black Cat series, and then the Black Cat series, and then Death's Doctor Strange Black Cat, and then the Mary Jane Black Cat Beyonds, and all these various Black Cat tie-ins to other events, and it all constructs a thing with Iron Cat and this now. But I've loved the entire journey, and this is just another great artist on that journey. I love Karatu on this one, and the backup with Michael Dowling again, like in the old Black Cat series, was really nice. Something Black Cat didn't do, but you would absolutely buy she would.
Oh, absolutely. I was really happy with these titles. I had to grab my Kamala in her Spidey outfit.
Yay!
So if you're asking why it's a tie-in, there's literal merch. There's literal action figures. Kamala she kind of does exactly what Peter does. You know, she starts off as the kid who's saving her town, the town that she cares about a lot, Jersey City. And now she's moving on up in the science world with her own little, internship. And she kind of follows the storyline of Spider-Man, but she makes it her own, and she does so many wonderful things for so many different people. And I can go on and on about how much I love Kamala Khan and how much I love Ms. Marvel, and she's just a joy to have in comics, and I'm so happy that she's getting her own tie-in, because I don't know, I think it's fun. I find that enjoyable that a character that doesn't have the biggest association currently with the Spider titles, but has her tie-in because they wanted to bring her in. They wanted her to have the internship at Oscorp, and if they're going to have that happen, well, she's going to be affected by what's going on with everything in Dark Web. So I was really appreciative of that fact, and the Mary Jane Black Cat story was really great because I think they have such interesting chemistry as two characters, especially with their involvement with Spider-Man, and the way that they interact, and that it feels a little tense and it feels a little unsure of where one stands with the other. I really like that we were able to get that vibe really well from how they interact with one another, and I think the story was just pretty. I was really enjoyable. I really enjoyed kind of everything that happened in both these issues. These were both probably my favorite things I got to read for this event so far.
I feel like really lately people sometimes accuse Kamala Khan of having Wolverine publicity, if you know what that means, like getting put in stuff to sell the book because she's a very popular up and coming character. I would argue that's Spider-Man popularity or Ms. Marvel popularity at this point. But there's a really funny gag in this issue where she literally does the like, all right, punks, you took your best shot. Now it's my turn. Like doing the actual Wolverine thing will always get me every single time. And it was great in this issue.
I agree. I think, there's no bad time for Ms. Marvel to thrive. And the excitement of this Ms. Marvel series, I want to get to it in a minute because there's something I really need to address before we go any further. I've always wanted to see Mary Jane reimagined as Kate Sheath from Final Fantasy VII. And that she now has the ability to reach into the ether and just pull powers out. Let's face it, Tigers, we won the jackpot because this is simultaneously kind of like too dumb, but so dumb it's great. Like it goes round the bend in a way that I think is riveting. It challenges what I expect of a comic, and I would love to get everybody's take on Jackpot, which of course the correct take is that it's brilliant, but I'll take any take, I guess.
I love how flipping meta it is that like we all thought Mary Jane was going to be Jackpot when
Brand New Day, yeah.
Right? We all thought Mary Jane was Jackpot, and haha. Guess what? She is, but like different, but she's like still Jackpot. She's got Jackpot powers. And I love it. Love it. I can't wait for her to like be revealed to be a mutant and finally accepted on Krakoa. And then like can have X books about her. Love it.
I have no idea where it's going, what the point is. I love the visual representation. It's so gorgeous and silly. Like it's gorgeous and silly. But I just think it is just fun. And the fact that it leads to a compelling story in that, like, it has that very RPG thing of like, she rolled, this happened, now we move on to the next thing. Oh, her power is just pudding, so it's not going to work here, but we'll have to do this instead. And it makes for a compelling story that really is constantly moving. I don't care that it's a weird power or it's a silly power. It just is fun. And the fact that it's her and Felicia having this moment of like taking care of each other here matters more than Peter Parker is really cool.
I have to say one thing. Like when I first read it, I was like, wait, is she Dial Husk? Like from Amalgam? Like I was like, what?
Yep.
My favorite thing about the power reveal in this, and my favorite thing that Chet McCain's doing is a wild man all the time with this guy. But my favorite thing about this is that Mary Jane getting powers is a thing that's only known to Black Cat and like her husband and kids and all these people, you know. But Black Cat finds out about this. Peter doesn't know about this because he's in another book. So that perfectly reflects how if you're a Spider-Man only reader and you are only reading the Spider-Man books, you still don't know this extremely important information that is unlocking the secret of this entire run that has been plaguing at readers' minds and driving people off the book with their confusion. But like we're getting to a point where if you are a reader of Black Cat and Mary Jane, if you're a reader of these side books, then you have crucial information that Peter and Peter readers don't. That is wild to me. There's absolutely wild information to be doled out in a tie-in to a crossover event in the middle of the run, and it's crucial. It is crucial. Whew.
I love these roulette powers. Roulette's go for the crying in the corner that she doesn't get something cool like this. The slot machine makes me think of Mario, Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. My video games fans know that one, or for my anime fans, it makes me think of Hunter x Hunter. There's a character that one of his power is essentially he gets to spin a roulette wheel and gets a different weapon based off what he spins, and no matter what he gets, he always goes, "Ugh, bad luck," and it's just very funny. That's what I'm used to, this idea of randomness. It also just makes her a Swiss Army knife because you could say, like, yeah, this is what she rolled on her jackpot, so this is her power. This is how it helps and fixes the day. She essentially just becomes the one-woman army, depending on what they want to do.
She's pudding. She's pudding, and now we know where Firestar's horse went. Oh, no, that's Jello.
That's wrong glue kind of, or Jello.
Nay.
Yeah.
Wait, is she hasty pudding?
Butter rum, right? Oh, figgy pudding, because I've never really been sure what that is. Ooh, flan. That would be if that was like yes. So I'm going to pivot back to the main thing about Black Cat and Mary Jane for me that this book had that is so important. It's that oftentimes, because Spider-Man has this gender-defining name in the title, we sort of forget how Spider-Man as a property is so important to people who don't necessarily identify just as men, and how many strong women have defined Spider-Man as a title for so long in so many important ways. It's so fantastic to see these two women thrive in this book, in this very well-used idea. This isn't like quick, you got to get the Spider Women in a title and hope it works out. This feels like a natural progression of both of these women. And before we take a look at Ms. Marvel, I would love to get your guys' kind of clothing thoughts.
I think they're both wearing great clothes.
Oh my God, they look
fabulous
so good.
Fashion.
Slay queen.
Beautiful gowns.
Mary Jane is a character I'm really excited about right now. Felicia is a character I never stop being excited about. And like that combination is just fantastic. I don't care how long this series goes on after. Like it is a seed that is planted that can grow anywhere. I also really love that, there's like undoubted empowerment. And there is also Tony Stark being like, whatever it takes, because there is this understanding of community. And that like these are people that love and look out for each other and have experiences that matter beyond anything else. And it's a way that you can have a character show up and be like, I'm going to help. That is not them being kind of paternalistic and saying you can't take care of yourselves, but more like I'm in it with you.
Yeah. I have a lot of fun. I wasn't even going to say this, but I have a lot of fun with the relationship and go back and forth between Black Cat and Iron Man. It's one of the best parts about the Iron Cat series. It is unbelievable, and I love that it's continuing. But more than that, I love the relationship between Mary Jane and Black Cat. I have been such a fan of it every time Jed MacKay has paired them up. I have not read a lot of their other appearances with each other, but just based on the strength of that alone has been a blast. I think Zeb Wells did some of this stuff in Beyond as well. I don't remember. I'll look it up. Somebody might have. But yeah, no, just that dynamic is incredible. I would read that over a Peter Parker comic any day. I'm always here to see that. I'm always going to pick up the Mary Jane and Black Cat series.
Yeah, I gotta say, I love how these two women who should be adversaries because they're rivals for Peter Parker's love are actually like truly friends. Like Felicia cares that Mary Jane is going to be upset that she's dating Peter, even though Mary Jane is like married. I don't know. Is she married? I don't know.
She's married Jane.
Yeah, she's married. She's married. She has kids. Whatever. She's like Peter. Whatever. Fuck him.
Just frenzy Jane.
It's cute that Felicia cares so much about Mary Jane's feelings. You wouldn't think she would necessarily, but they're so close now.
And I gotta I love of course Jed MacKay's Felicia is gonna be amazing, but I love Jed MacKay's Mary Jane so much, and I'm like, oh my god, I need this series to go on. I know this is a limited series for Dark Web, but I need it to go on forever. I need to come back. Give us more.
Oh, they're great together. I love their chemistry. I love that it's not what you expect their relationship to be. They actually do seem to have a really good friendship. They have a very positive relationship with each other where they don't really want to see the other one fail. And that's really nice and acceptable. I shouldn't say acceptable. It's really nice and great that we get to see a comic like that, especially with these two women that were kind of pitted against each other for years upon years for the love of Peter Parker, which, yes, Peter's hot, but it not that. It's Peter Parker.
They're in Midtown. They're right near NYU. You can find a scientist with abs. Get over it.
Spider.
I would love
Spider attraction. It's
to travel the world doing a vaudeville act. I think that they would be great. They could pretend to be sisters.
Ooh.
They're close.
Whatever happened to Mary Jane?
Yes.
But you are Felicia. You
are the chair. You are the chair.
Now that we have thoroughly taken this as gay as it should be, if it's going to be Black Cat, and did everybody do their final thoughts? I don't want to cut anybody off. Did everybody? Okay. Just so excited to talk about Ms. Marvel. So, longtime Ms. Marvel fan here, been reading it like Steve. I jumped on with #1, and as I jump in and out of comics over the years, I would have to catch up, but it was always a book that I made sure to catch up on. When, I first got back into comics for X's for Podcast, being current with the Krakoan age, I devoured every page of Champions, and Ms. Marvel is a character. Comic. Oh, such a good comic, right? Yeah. And this was not just because I expected Ms. Marvel comic to be great, but I was shocked by the quality of the pacing, the dynamism of the art, the expression of utilizing both Ms. Marvel as Kamala and Ms. Marvel as a superhero. There was an intensity that shone on the value of the personality, whether she was in or out of costume. And I would love to get your guys' feel on this title. How did you guys feel about the representation of Ms. Marvel in sort of a post-Ms. Marvel is a hit TV show kind of world?
I mean, I'm glad you bring up... Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
I was just going to mention that I think Sabir Prasada was writing on the Ms. Marvel TV show, and some
Amazing.
I've read a couple other comics by them before that were Ms. Marvel, and I think they've always been a little geared towards that, like a tie-in kind of comic sometimes, or a promotional kind of thing. But this flowed really well, and it worked as just a regular Ms. Marvel comic in so many ways. I had fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of what I was going to say, is that essentially this perfectly works as just a Ms. Marvel, 616 universe comic, but the way that they put the really specific references to characters and situations that are recognizable from the TV show, that's work that you have to do to onboard new readers. And as confusing as this event might be, what a good inroad if you thought, okay, I really like Miss Marvel, that you open up this Miss Marvel comic and you see a love interest that you would recognize, a friendship that you would recognize. You see, her mosque, which is a really important location in the comic, and you get the chance to say, okay, now I can just kind of situate and understand what's going on in her life such that I can follow this story. And maybe from there, you're like, who's this redhead? I want to know what's going on. So I was just overall really impressed by it.
Can I add to that? You're
Yeah.
so right, and I did not even think about that, but you're so right, and it even helps that like if you're going to get into Ms. Marvel after reading this comic, you're going to start with Volume 1 maybe, and the Avenger is the arch enemy of that comic, so you're already going to have a foothold in the beginning.
Yep,
it's nicely done.
Now, Jonah. Oh, absolutely, Nathan. Please go for it. Absolutely. I just wanted to keep the conversation going, but whoever's ready.
I was gonna say I came into Miss Marvel like at a weird time. Like I always thought I was too old to maybe enjoy her solo series, and I wasn't the audience for it. So I never really picked it up and gave it a shot. But when she joined the Avengers, is the first time I really had some real experience with her, and I just like fell in love with the character and how amazing and how fangirl she is and how like much like so many of us comics fans she is. And I like followed her through the Champions. I need to go back and read her solo series, but I love how this picked up elements from that Steve had to describe for me. Thank you. And
you can read it anytime.
And also like kind of picked up on stuff from the TV show, and I'm just glad that it didn't try to make Miss Marvel a mutant, because please don't.
Well, I really hope that I wouldn't hate it, because the less we bring up Inhumanity, and she was always meant to be a mutant by the creator, so like it would be really cool, because when Sanaa Amanat, when she first was talking about the character, she was like, and what if she's a mutant? And they were like, oh, but Inhumanity, and she was like, okay. So but whatever happens. I would love to see. But Jonah, as I believe this is actually your first Ms. Marvel comic, how did you feel? Oh, it wasn't.
I read the reprint of issue number 1.
Oh, cool. So this wasn't you getting waterboarded onto Ms. Marvel.
No. I'm familiar. I saw that first issue where she was transformed by that Terragon mist, terracotta.
The terracotta mist. I love it.
The terracotta mist, and she became inhuman. And because that's what everybody really wants to be, is an inhuman.
So Kamala Khan met a wild Torchic, and it turned her into Ms. Marvel. I completely understand now. But as the sort of like, I mean, you're a young scientist. Like literally, this is literally your life. How does this story play out for you? Not exactly if you found yourself, sandwiched in the middle of a clone saga, would this be how you behave? But as you read this, how did it feel for you as someone who could kind of connect to the material?
Can someone correct me? So I would have to go. I don't have my phone on me to quickly check.
Fine,
was she
you're
wearing
wrong.
safety goggles? In that lab.
So yeah.
I need someone to check on lab safety, because that's my first priority. Is lab safety, which is number 1. Always have a pair of lab safety goggles on you. I have lab safety.
Yeah, they're both wearing lab safety goggles.
Okay.
She doesn't have her hair tied up. That's probably not great, but
no, hair needs to be tied up. No open-toed shoes. Lab coat, gloves. Anyway,
where's Evelyn when you need her?
Actually, my sister in solidarity for PPE for scientific experiments. But that's part of what I really enjoyed kind of about this is I don't know, it's something that I relate to, that you see seeing her in the lab environment, and I'm like, that's what I did. I had to do that, and I know that many people can relate to that, of like, she seems so cool, and she's living a dream and doing stuff with her life as a character that I hope inspires a lot of young girls to go into the science track, into the STEM track, and like that they can see this powerful, awesome young woman be bright, be scientific, and excel in the STEM field, that they can do it too. And that's what I think the magic of Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, comes from. And seeing this story give us that focus, have those tie-ins to the TV show that I loved, and really be like, oh, I recognize that. I recognize that, and have it all come together in a very plausible story of how to get Miss Marvel into the Dark Web event, where she's working at Oscorp Tower Technology Science place building, and she's the magic undergoes all the equipment, the toilets, which I thought was pretty funny. That they were basically the three, the bears from Goldilocks, of like, you poop too much, you poop too little, you poop just right, you flush too much, you flush too little, you flush just right, but we're still gonna eat you. There was a lot of like really good comedic moments that felt great for all ages. Like, this is like, if someone with younger kids was like, what's a comic that I would recommend from Marvel, I would say this. It feels like a very age appropriate, all ages kind of comic that anybody can enjoy, anybody can be inspired by, and anybody can find really fun, good moments in. And Kamala's just cool. She's just a cool person. Like, I would want to hang out with her.
So cool. She's so cool.
That was so beautiful, Jonah. I just want to say she's also like so many young interns in the science field, because she's also interning for an evil corporation.
Oh, truly.
No sins.
Oh,
truly. As you were having trouble describing her job, where you're like Oscorp Place Lab, I want to be like Pokey Stop, Foursquare Check-In. But I want to not pivot away from Ms. Marvel so much as kind of open to a bigger question. We're at the end of our episode, and as always, we love to go like at least 10 minutes long. So, good for us. We're very good at that. But what we're also very good at is giving summation. And something that I would love to see everybody get to do. We talked a lot of things. We talked Venom, Gold Goblin, Ms. Marvel, Mary Jane and Black Cat, Amazing Spider-Man, 2 of them. We talked X-Men, Dark Web, 2 of them. We talked Dark Web, the one shot of them, and that's a fuck ton. That's like that's half the trade. If this was split in 2 trades, that would be the first volume unto itself. And we've already spoke Gold Goblin 1 and a little bit more. And my question for you guys is, we're sitting on the precipice of what needs to be the revealing moment of Dark Web. We really need to be staring at the point at which we understand how it's going to go to some extent. Not saying that everything is Shakespearean theory, but, there is that idea of the cycle of the story. I'm really hoping that we come to understand there's bigger things at play here than we knew. I don't need Maddie to be innocent, but I need to believe she's not trying to hurt innocent children. I don't need Ben to be innocent. I need Ben to just, I fucking hate to say this, but like, I just need Ben to get through it. It can just be another thing on his fucking list. Ben's life is just one long episode of Unsolved Mysteries. And I would just really love it if like Robert Stack could just tell him that there's an update. So that's what I hope. I would love to get your guys' vibes on where we're at in Dark Web and the Dark Web of the future for you, for your webbing, your dark.
The metaphor that I use throughout this is that it's a dance. It's a really beautiful, complicated dance, and I feel like they've pulled it off really well. And, for narratives like these, I think we have this expectation and this hope that, like, they will resolve in this really, like, paced, there's enough time for everything to get explored, like, resolved, concluded, and all that. And my one concern has been that there's maybe not enough time to allow that to happen. But then, I watch beautiful drag queens just fucking death drop to end a dance, and it's the best dance I've seen.
No, Anitra's was in the middle. It was in the fucking middle.
Drops right into a split at the end of her number, and that was it. So, maybe Dark Web is not going to be something that like has a really like long, slow conclusion. Maybe Maddie's just going to drop into a fucking split at the end of it, and that is all we will need. This crossover feels that type of fun to me. Feels that type of over the top. Feels that type of hot and silly. And increasingly talking this out, like I think we're going to get a conclusion that looks more like that. But I have really high hopes.
Worked yourself into a shoot there.
I gotta say, I have faith for Zeb Wells' characterization and overall planning of the arc. I've got to say, I know sometimes we all get disappointed. Characters always fall into their old patterns and their old cycles, and maybe that's a lot like human nature, because I'm sure we're all guilty of falling into old patterns at different times. I don't have hopes that it's going to really advance Chasm or Maddie that much. I think Maddie will maybe hopefully stay ruler of Limbo. I hope we don't get Yana going back that quick. But I think at some point, like, knowing the cyclical nature of comics, that like Maddie's not going to be in charge of Limbo forever. It's going to go back to Yana because some writer's going to want to make that an important story for her. I'm excited to see where this goes. I can't wait. I can't wait. I don't know how it's going to end. I'd love for her to death drop, Ben Reilly somewhere, hopefully get a good sprig of that blonde hair he has. But yeah.
Very pullable blonde hair.
I think I'm going to have to just declare this at the end of the episode because I didn't get a chance while you were all bad-mouthing my queen earlier. But I am fine with Maddie doing more murders. I am fine with her doing more wrongs. I love the arc that she's having, and I do not think it's regressive. I do not think that it is opposed to the end of Vita Ayala's New Mutants. I have a different interpretation than it seems a lot of people do of that run. And I highly encourage rereading the end of it and seeing the part where she's on a throne of skulls with a big old scythe, deciding what to do with Limbo and killing demons at the very end of Vita Ayala's run. That lady ain't no superhero. I think that this run, the thing I was most worried about was that she was going to try to kill Jean or hurt her. The moment it became clear that she was only after the memories that she feels was taken from her, to parallel Ben Reilly trying to get his memories back, which weren't taken from him. But I mean, they were, but not by Peter, but that's impossible to explain. That makes good drama. It makes great tension. And that's what keeps pulling me along the chain of Dark Web. And I'm strapped in like from dusk till dawn. It's going to be good.
My two offbeat and hot takes of what I think will happen is I think this will bleed over into the X-Men, where they're going to recount the Quiet Council, and Selene will have more ammo to be now a member, like she should have been in the first place. That's my first offbeat and hot take. And my second hope is that we get She-Hulk involved in this, and they will renegotiate the contract that Ileana and Madeline signed when she transferred over ownership of Limbo, because like a car, she transferred over the title and gave it to her, so it's now legally Maddie's. I think Jen's going to come in and they're going to renegotiate this contract in a way where Maddie can get what she wants and everybody else get what they want, and they just leave each other alone.
I mean, she is the Krakoa.
I would not be surprised if you're right.
Her firm is the law firm for Krakoa. So
and don't forget, Maddie's son is an incredibly accomplished lawyer.
That is true. We did not forget Cable is a well-accomplished lawyer in and of himself.
Who graduated with Michelle Obama, just throwing it out there.
That's weird.
What?
I mean, just the age too, because like it's from the future. I don't know when he went to law school or where.
What did I mean? How is he a lawyer?
I'll explain it to you offline.
Thank you.
Is this like when Strife grew from genetic goo? How do they know it was Strife? Anyway.
Yeah.
An important question.
It has to do with the transitive properties of getting reborn in the egg. At what point in the rebirth cycle is it a mutant life? Is it conception at egg formation?
Is it when Fabio shoots it out of his chest?
Or is it when Hope?
Or is it when Proteus puts his magic bubblegum juice on top of it?
These are the questions we will be asking throughout the next few months, I think.
Like, if you grow a clone of Maddie, is it going to be Maddie or Jean?
Can I did not get to say this during Ms. Marvel, and I have to throw it out there. I want to give a shout out to Ariana Mara for Maddie going blang blang on the organ. Cracks me up every time. Please keep doing that. It's never not funny when she just fucking jangles the keys.
Yep.
It's very good.
Oh, wait. I have a question. Does everybody think that the computer that Maddie uses, is that a throwback to her, like her keyboard computer? Is that a throwback to her X-Men back in the
I'll take
day.
it.
and
Her
now
girl in the
back-
chair days.
Yeah.
I think it was reasonable to say it is. Yeah.
The evil oracle.
I mean, if she can fly a plane, she can use a computer. So, like, I'm here
True.
for it, right?
Yeah.
I have had the most fucking fun talking this stuff with you guys. It has been such a blast, and this is it's a fucking pleasure to do every week. And I would love to get everybody to sign off one last time. I'm going to start in the opposite end and work our way back. Jonah, where can everybody find you on the interwebs? And you know what? Hit me with a favorite Spider character. It doesn't have to be your all-time favorite, any favorite.
You can find me over on Twitter and Instagram at Peak Jonah. That's Peak. Favorite Spider character? Silk.
Love it. Great call. Steve, same questions unto yourself.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, my name is Steve. You can find me on Twitter and other social medias at Howdyduda. That's HOWDYDUDA. And my favorite Spider character is Venom. And your brains have all been a 4-course meal. Zombie caviar. Thanks for having me.
Nathan, how about you?
Nathan, you can find me at Desert AOA, like Desert Age Apocalypse. And besides Mary Jane, my favorite Spider character is Shriek.
Ooh, great taste. Everybody, great taste so far.
Yeah.
Just killing it.
Mine is actually Spider-Woman. I'm just doing a bit. It's Spider-Woman. She's not really a Spider character, but, Jessica Drew.
Oh, yeah. And the best hair in
Wait,
comics.
Julia Carpenter is the best Spider-Woman. I'm sorry. Anyway.
She's great too. She is. She's great too. She's the real Spider-Woman. But she's not a real Spider character.
Bring it to the mud.
Y'all are forgetting Mayday Parker, the real Spider-Woman. But setting that aside, I'm TK. You can find me all over socials at xNateXGrayX. And, we all know it's May, but I'm going to set that one aside and say that current really interesting Spider character to me is Agony.
Ooh.
Okay. And I'm Nico. As always, you can find me all over the internet at Nico Action. It's NicoAction. You can find me on this show at X is for Podcast on all your socials and at xisforpodcast.com. And if I had to pick one Spider character, I'm going to go with MC2's Black Tarantula because that motherfucker is too hot to be real.
All right, yeah.
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 The La Muerte boys.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to the original Tarantula. Like that guy.
Yeah. Oh, that's why Muerte boys. No hate on any tarantulas. They are fucking
Good
kings.
design. Yeah.
So hot. And it takes the Venom design in a creative way. It doesn't feel like a replay of that same visual. It's just been done so well over the years. And I love
And they
his
show
time
up in 2
Daredevil.
issues and you just love them forever.
Oh my god, but the Daredevil run, the Daredevil by Brubaker and then Diggle, where Black Tarantula is one of his lieutenants. Pretty good stuff. Okay, well that's for the Billy Club. So I guess we're gonna have a Black Tarantula Billy Club special. And
do it.
Until then, please like and subscribe. Please like us. I'm desperate for affection, and we will see you all soon. Kevo, get me the fuck out of here.
Come get
Oh
tangled.
my god! It's a ninja! Wait, do it!
Yes!
Girl, do it! Yes! Walk that fucking
You
duck!
better walk that duck walk.
Quack. 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 Quack.
Oh, thank God, Kevo. Thank you for that. Thank you for you.
Perfect
Okay.
ending. Our future Spider Queen, Anitra.